You've seen this pattern before, even if you never named it. She says she wants love, stability, something real. But what actually changes her behavior isn't commitment. It's attention. Not affection, but the way your eyes linger, the way your desire is felt before it's spoken. And when that desire fades, something inside her shifts, even if nothing is wrong. Men are taught to believe women want love above all else. That love is the prize. That if you offer enough care, consistency, and emotional presence, you've given her what she needs. But watch closely and you'll notice something uncomfortable. Love makes her feel safe. Yes, but it doesn't always keep her engaged. What keeps her lit up, restless, and alive is something else entirely. She doesn't want you as much as she wants how you look at her, how your attention sharpens her sense of self, how being desired makes her feel visible, chosen, amplified. Attention hits differently than affection. It's more immediate, more intoxicating. It doesn't soothe, it stimulates. And stimulation has a way of outlasting relationships. This is why desire survives where love fades. Why attention-seeking doesn't end when commitment begins. Why being wanted can feel more powerful than being loved. Desire doesn't just feel good, it activates something deeper. It reinforces identity. It creates emotional movement. And once that feeling is experienced, losing it doesn't feel like disappointment. It feels like withdrawal. Love makes women feel safe. Being desired makes them feel alive. This video isn't about blaming women or reducing them to impulses. It's about understanding a mechanism most men never see clearly. Because desire doesn't just operate in the heart, it operates in the nervous system. And when you understand why being desired functions like a drug, you stop confusing attention with attachment, and you stop misreading behaviors that were never about love in the first place. Desire operates at a deeper layer than attraction, because it doesn't just respond to another person, it reflects the self back to itself. Being desired confirms existence. It answers a question that runs beneath thought. Am I seen? Am I chosen? Do I matter right now? Love can exist quietly in the background, but desire is loud. It announces value in real time, and that's why it hits harder. Psychologically, desire functions as proof of value. When someone wants her visibly, energetically, without needing permission, it reinforces her sense of worth without effort. She doesn't have to perform, explain, or negotiate. Attention flows toward her naturally. That flow becomes identity reinforcement. It stabilizes how she sees herself in the moment. Not long-term, not rationally, but viscerally. And the nervous system responds to visceral signals far more strongly than abstract commitments. Validation then becomes regulation. The presence of desire calms anxiety, lifts mood, sharpens self-image. It's not about ego, it's about coherence. When desire is present, she feels aligned. When it disappears, something feels off, even if love remains. This is why love alone often isn't enough to sustain engagement. Love is mutual. It's shared. It's built slowly and maintained through effort. Desire, on the other hand, is directional. It moves toward her. It doesn't require reciprocity to be felt. And because it's directional, it carries power. This distinction matters because men often confuse offering love with creating desire. They give stability, presence, care, assuming those will automatically generate wanting. But love reassures. Desire animates. Love says, "We are safe." Desire says, "You are wanted." And those messages land in different parts of the psyche. This is why being desired can feel more essential than being loved, especially in moments of uncertainty. Love anchors identity over time. Desire sharpens it in the present. One builds security, the other builds aliveness. And when aliveness fades, no amount of security replaces it. Desire doesn't just feel good, it tells her who she is. Desire is more addictive than love because it activates a different chemical and psychological loop. Love stabilizes, desire spikes, and the nervous system doesn't crave stability the way it craves stimulation. That difference is everything. Desire floods the brain with dopamine, the chemical of anticipation, novelty, and pursuit. Dopamine doesn't reward having. It rewards wanting. It keeps attention forward, restless, searching for the next hit. And once that loop is activated, it doesn't ask for permission from logic or values. Love, by contrast, is built on oxytocin. Oxytocin is the bonding hormone. It creates calm, safety, familiarity. It settles the nervous system instead of exciting it. This is why love feels warm, grounding, and secure, but rarely intoxicating for long periods. Oxytocin reduces anxiety. Dopamine amplifies it. One soothes, the other stimulates, and the human brain is far more easily addicted to stimulation than to peace. This is why desire feels electric while love feels quiet. Desire sharpens focus. It creates craving. It pulls attention outward and forward. Love pulls inward. It encourages rest. And rest, while healthy, doesn't produce the same urgency or obsession. That urgency is what people confuse with passion. But passion, in this sense, is neurological arousal, not emotional depth. This also explains why desire fades faster than love, yet leaves a stronger withdrawal. When dopamine drops, the nervous system doesn't just return to neutral, it feels the absence. Boredom, flatness, restlessness, and the mind begins searching for the source that once stimulated it. This is why attention-seeking behaviors appear even in stable relationships. The bond remains, but the stimulation disappears. Love is still there, but the drug is gone. Men often misinterpret this cycle. They believe if love is present, desire should follow automatically. But love doesn't spike dopamine, it smooths it out. And when the nervous system becomes accustomed to calm, it begins craving contrast. That craving isn't a moral failure, it's a biological one. The system wants movement. Love settles the nervous system. Desire stimulates it. Once you understand this, female behavior stops looking contradictory. The craving for desire isn't a rejection of love. It's a response to neurochemical quiet. And quiet, to a system accustomed to stimulation, feels like absence. That's why desire can feel addictive. Not because it's deeper, but because it's louder. And the nervous system always hears loud signals first. When desire disappears, the nervous system doesn't interpret it as a normal shift. It interprets it as a threat. Because desire wasn't just stimulation, it was confirmation. It was visibility. And when that visibility fades, identity wobbles. Not consciously, not dramatically, but internally, something that once reflected her back to herself is suddenly gone. And the system reacts before the mind can explain it. The first response is emotional anxiety, a subtle unease, a sense that something is off, even if nothing external has changed. The calm that love provides doesn't resolve this anxiety, because anxiety here isn't about safety. It's about relevance, about being felt, about being wanted now. Without desire in the environment, the nervous system loses its reference point. That anxiety quickly turns into restlessness. Stillness becomes uncomfortable. Silence feels heavier. The urge to move, to act, to be seen increases. And because the system is seeking reassurance, it looks outward. External validation becomes the fastest way to restore equilibrium, not because it's shallow, but because it works immediately. This is where the behaviors appear. Posting for attention, not to show off, but to feel reflected again. Reaching out to old admirers who once desired her without hesitation. Provoking reactions, subtle messages, emotional contradictions. Visibility-seeking moves that generate response. Each reaction is a small hit of confirmation. I'm still wanted. I still exist in someone's focus. Men often misread this as insecurity or manipulation. But what's actually happening is regulation. The nervous system is trying to re-establish visibility. Desire once provided that mirror. Without it, the system looks for replacements. And because attention works quickly, it becomes the go-to solution. Losing desire feels like losing visibility. That's why this phase feels urgent, sometimes chaotic. It's not about attracting a specific man. It's about restoring a sense of presence in the world. Once visibility returns, the anxiety settles, the restlessness fades, and the behavior often stops just as suddenly as it started. Understanding this removes confusion. You stop personalizing attention-seeking as intent. You stop assuming it's about connection. You see it as a response to an internal drop in stimulation. And when you see that clearly, you no longer chase behaviors that were never invitations. You recognize a system trying to feel seen again, and you decide whether or not to participate. A woman can be deeply loved and still crave desire, and that's where most men get confused. They assume love should be sufficient, that once commitment is established, wanting should naturally follow. But love and desire serve different psychological functions. Love stabilizes, desire animates, and stability, over time, quiets the very stimulation desire depends on. Inside relationships, love becomes predictable, safe, familiar. The nervous system learns the pattern. That safety answers an essential question. Am I secure? But it slowly stops answering another. Am I wanted right now? As routines form and certainty replaces novelty, desire fades into familiarity. Not because attraction is gone, but because the signal that once reinforced identity has softened. This is where identity reinforcement drops. Being loved says, you belong. Being desired says, you are chosen. And those messages land differently. Belonging is grounding. Being chosen is electrifying. When the latter disappears, something subtle goes missing. The relationship still functions, but aliveness thins out. The mirror that once reflected desirability becomes fogged. This doesn't automatically lead to physical betrayal. Most of the time, It shows up as emotional drift, seeking attention without intent, enjoying validation without plans, flirting without crossing lines, at least consciously. This is why calling it emotional cheating misses the mechanism. It frames behavior as moral failure instead of nervous system compensation. The system isn't chasing another person. It's chasing the feeling of being wanted again. Men often personalize this. They assume they've failed, that they're no longer enough. But the craving isn't about replacement. It's about restoration. Restoration of identity feedback that love, by its nature, doesn't continuously provide. Love maintains. Desire spikes. And without those spikes, the system searches elsewhere for contrast. Love answers, "Am I safe?" Desire answers, "Am I wanted?" Once you understand that distinction, behavior stops looking contradictory. A woman seeking desire while being loved isn't rejecting the relationship, she's responding to a drop in stimulation. And the man who understands this doesn't panic or police attention. He recognizes the difference between security and aliveness. And that awareness alone changes how he holds his position without resentment, without control, and without confusion. The fifth truth forces the focus back onto men not as villains or heroes, but as variables in the addiction loop. Not all men trigger this craving equally. Some amplify it, others shut it down without trying. And the difference has nothing to do with looks, money, or confidence in the way most people think. It's about emotional structure. The men who are most addictive are emotionally unavailable in a very specific way. Not distant or cold, but non-reactive. Their emotional center isn't easily accessed. They don't rush to reassure. They don't chase approval. Their attention isn't constantly offered. It's directional and selective. Because of that, desire stays activated. The nervous system doesn't settle, it stays alert. Curious, slightly uncertain, and uncertainty fuels dopamine. These men don't collapse when desire fluctuates. They don't overinterpret shifts. They don't explain themselves excessively. Their presence feels solid, but not consumable. That resistance, subtle, calm, unforced, keeps the stimulation loop alive. Desire has something to move toward, not something that dissolves on contact. In contrast, the least addictive men are overavailable. They validate too quickly. They reassure too often. They try to stabilize the emotional environment instead of letting it breathe. Their nervous system sinks too easily. And when everything is predictable, desire has nowhere to go. The system relaxes, but it also gets bored. Over-validating men unintentionally kill craving by removing tension. Emotional dependence accelerates this even further. When a man's mood, confidence, or sense of self shifts in response to her attention, desire collapses into control. The nervous system no longer feels pulled, it feels responsible. And responsibility is the opposite of attraction. This is the paradox most men miss. The behaviors that feel caring, constant availability, reassurance, affirmation often reduce desire rather than deepen it. Not because they're wrong, but because they eliminate resistance. And desire doesn't grow in comfort alone. It grows in contrast. Desire feeds on resistance, not reassurance. Understanding this isn't about becoming distant or manipulative. It's about recognizing that craving is sustained by structure, not effort. The men who feed this addiction don't try to be addictive. They simply don't offer emotional access on demand. And because of that, Desire keeps knocking long after reassurance would have put it to sleep. This is where the trap closes without men realizing it. They don't set out to become the drug. They think they're being honest, expressive, present, but slowly, through over-desiring, over-praising, and over-centering, they turn themselves into the very stimulation the nervous system consumes and then discards. Over-desiring is the first mistake. When a man's wanting becomes visible too early or too intensely, it collapses polarity. Desire thrives on direction, not exposure. The moment your interest is fully revealed and constantly reinforced, there's nothing left to anticipate. The nervous system stops leaning forward. What once felt exciting becomes available and availability, without structure. Numbs craving. Overpraising follows next. Compliments become frequent. Validation flows easily. She's affirmed for how she looks, how she thinks, how she makes him feel. This seems positive, but it creates a dangerous shift. Praise stops being information and becomes reassurance. And reassurance tells the nervous system there's nothing left to win. Mystery dissolves. Tension evaporates. Desire falls asleep. Making her the center is the final collapse. His attention reorganizes around her reactions. His mood lifts when she engages and drops when she withdraws. His priorities adjust. His presence narrows. And without a word being spoken, the signal changes. My desire depends on you. At that moment, polarity flips. He is no longer the source of stimulation, he's the consumer. And consumers don't get craved. They get managed. This is why these behaviors fail. They remove polarity by collapsing distance. They kill mystery by over-explaining and over-exposing. And they end craving by turning desire into dependency. The nervous system doesn't crave what it already has. It craves what moves independently, what isn't emotionally reachable on demand. Men often think becoming the drug means being intense. It doesn't. It means becoming necessary. Becoming the place where validation flows from. And necessity is anti-desire. The moment she feels responsible for your emotional state, craving shuts down. Responsibility replaces attraction. The moment you need her desire, she stops craving yours. This isn't a call to withhold or manipulate. It's a warning about structure. Desire is sustained by self-containment. The man who remains centered doesn't need to dampen his interest. He simply doesn't organize his identity around it. And because his desire isn't leaking outward uncontrollably, it remains potent, unpredictable, aliveness. Applying this without manipulation requires a complete shift in intent. The goal is not to generate desire, but to stop sabotaging it. Desire is not something you manufacture through tactics. It's something that emerges naturally when structure is intact. The moment you try to create it directly, you reveal need. And need collapses the very thing you're trying to produce. The first principle is understanding that desire is a byproduct, not a goal. When desire becomes the objective, your behavior reorganizes around outcomes. You start watching reactions, measuring responses, adjusting yourself in real time. That reactivity leaks outward immediately. Instead of being felt, you're perceived as monitoring. Desire doesn't respond to monitoring. It responds to grounded presence that isn't seeking confirmation. The second principle is that validation should be scarce, not absent. Scarcity isn't silence. It's selectivity. Validation that's given deliberately carries weight. Validation that's constant loses meaning. When everything is praised, nothing is felt. The nervous system stops registering it as information and starts filing it as noise. Scarcity preserves signal. Absence creates coldness. The balance is restraint, not withdrawal. The third principle is presence over praise. Praise points outward. Presence anchors inward. A man who is present doesn't need to narrate his interest. It's felt in how he listens, how he moves, how he stays steady regardless of response. Presence doesn't ask to be noticed, it is noticed. And because it doesn't chase reaction, it keeps polarity alive. Practically, this means staying self-contained. Your mood doesn't rise and fall with her engagement. Your direction doesn't stall waiting for attention. You don't chase reactions to feel secure. You allow interest to exist without inflating it or draining it. You respond, but you don't pursue validation. You engage, but you don't organize your identity around being desired. And letting desire come to you isn't passive, it's disciplined. It requires resisting the urge to overexpress, over-explain, or over-invest emotionally. You don't try to be desired. You become someone whose desire isn't cheaply accessible, and because it isn't leaking everywhere, it retains charge. You don't create desire by trying to be desired. You preserve it by staying whole, and the man who understands that never needs to manipulate attraction because he no longer bleeds it away. At the end of this, what matters isn't what you think about women. It's how you orient yourself around desire. Desire is powerful. There's no denying that. It sharpens attention, accelerates connection, and makes people feel alive. But power without structure becomes unstable. And addictive dynamics, by definition, cannot sustain anything real. They spike, they burn, and they collapse under their own intensity. This truth isn't here to teach you how to be desired more. That's the trap most men fall into. They hear how powerful desire is and immediately ask how to trigger it, how to hold it, how to control it. But the moment you start feeding addiction, you become part of the instability. You trade grounding for stimulation, presence for performance, and eventually, you lose yourself in the very attention you were chasing. The real shift is quieter and far more dangerous in a good way. You stop feeding addiction, not by withdrawing, but by refusing to organize your identity around desire. You stop chasing reactions. You stop amplifying intensity. You stop confusing being wanted with being valued. Instead, you build something rarer, grounded presence. Presence that doesn't need constant stimulation to feel alive. Presence that doesn't rise and fall with attention. This is where the confusion clears. Being desired feels intoxicating, but intoxication is temporary. It doesn't build trust. It doesn't create stability. It doesn't last. Presence does. Presence creates gravity. It anchors interactions. It allows desire to exist without consuming the entire dynamic. And when desire fades, as it always does, presence remains. The man who understands this never panics when attention spikes or disappears. He doesn't cling to desire when it shows up, and he doesn't chase it when it leaves. He understands that attention can be a signal of attraction or a symptom of imbalance. And because he's grounded, he can tell the difference. This is the identity lock-in. You stop measuring yourself by how intensely you're wanted. You stop mistaking urgency for connection. You stop feeding cycles that feel exciting but leave you empty. And in doing so, you become the one thing addiction can't use someone who is whole without it. Being desired feels intoxicating, but it doesn't create stability. And the man who understands this never confuses attention with attachment.